Hey there guys, Micah Curtis here, and wanted to do another quick bit on the off-topic channel just because something political came up today. What's been going on is that apparently there is a minor feud brewing between Milo Yiannopolous of Breitbart and Glenn Beck over at The Blaze. Now, Glenn Beck, gonna be honest about something. Not a fan. Those of you who know me know I am a conservative myself. And I'm not dressed this way because I am a conservative and want to take over the world. That's just the benefits. No, I'm dressed like this because I had a job prospect that I was at earlier. But anyway, in fact, I need to loosen my tie up. So, basically what happened was Glenn Beck took the time to call Milo Joseph Goebells for an article that Milo had penned about Donald Trump's attack and tweets about Ted Cruz's wife. Basically putting a very unflattering photo of Ted's wife next to a very flattering photo of Trump's wife, who was a model at one point. And this whole thing was spurned on by Trump, being the thin-skinned goofball that he is, getting mad because a anti-Trump super PAC posted a image of, I think his wife's name is Ivanka? Something like that. I don't even remember. But Trump's wife, current wife, in a very provocative position, basically appealing to evangelicals, saying, is this the type of person that First Lady you want in the Oval Office? And Trump gets incensed, starts attacking Cruz's wife. Ted puts his foot down and says, you're a coward, which is true. That's a very cowardly move on Trump's part. And throws down the idea that anything between the two of them is ever going to be civil again. And excuse me. And then what happens is just this whole thing goes on, and Milo, who is a big Trump supporter, goes on to Breitbart and pens an article where he actually defends the lower standards of Trump's ability to have a civil conversation, at least in regards to this leg of the campaign. Now, excuse me. Milo's argument was that not having any sort of filters on your speech helps to shatter bounds of political correctness. And, Glenn's response essentially was to say that Milo is evil, this is an evil article, evil, evil, evil. What does this say about our country as a whole? So on and so forth. And what I wanted to do was kind of go over my response to both positions as someone who actually has had an interaction with Milo. I had an email chain discussion with him last year when the piece that I did for Truth Revolt and his piece that he did for Breitbart on Jonathan McIntosh had gone up. He's a very pleasant individual. I like him quite a bit. And then he's not the only writer at Breitbart I've ever had interaction with. I have interacted with Alan Bakari as well. I like those guys quite a bit. They're really cool people, though I disagree with them on certain things. My take on this is that my first problem is with Glenn Beck here. I think that Glenn is making the mistake of making a moral argument about a civil, or was civil, disagreement. My perception, ever since I have considered myself a conservative, back when the Tea Party really got started, and I, became a part of that, was that we conservatives were naturally on a higher road, at least in regards to discussion with one another. We didn't treat liberals like intelligent people or civil people because they weren't being intelligent or civil. But we always understood that from one another, those of us who were actually conservatives, as opposed to the rhinos out there, that we could be civil with one another, we could have discussions with one another, we could be truthful with one another, and try to actually, have some sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? We would be able to address our disagreements with one another in regards to policy, politicians, so on and so forth. You know, anytime I ever met with other people that are part of the Tea Party, that are other conservatives, and even people who are old school establishment type Republicans who would vote for someone like a Jeb Bush, I was always able to have a civil discussion with them about policy and things like that. We were always one step above the liberals in that sense, because we didn't have to go to all these social issues that everyone really had a common ground on, but they would always make you out to be the bad person if you felt like the federal government had a very specific and small place in the world. Now, this, more than anything, in my opinion, is endemic of the splintering that has not just happened within the Republican Party, but within the conservative branch of the Republican Party. You know, guys like Ben Shapiro and Milo Yiannopolous both agree on many things in regards to political correctness, in regards to the place of government in our society, about how evil socialism is, and how basically Bernie Sanders is Napoleon from Animal Farm. Things along those lines. We all have an agreement on that Hillary Clinton probably should not be the president, that Bernie Sanders definitely shouldn't be the president. You know, we have a common ground there. But the fact that Glenn would go to this level is basically doing the exact same thing that Trump did to Ted Cruz, saying that someone is like a Nazi. Milo is many things. He's a provocateur. Like I said, I like him as a human being, don't get me wrong. He's a provocateur, and he doesn't mind pissing somebody off. I don't really mind either, because I'll do it too. But I think that if Glenn had talked about the argument that Milo put forward, this could have been a much more civil thing. Now we've got Breitbart versus the Blaze. We were already getting Breitbart versus Ben Shapiro, which is just absolutely ridiculous. And I don't side with Breitbart against Shapiro either, because they've screwed a few things up too. Because in a lot of ways, they've become a Trump super PAC. And most of the articles now that they write don't appeal to conservatives at all. They appeal more to the alt-right, which are the opposite side of the horseshoe. Instead of communists, you got Nazis. Good job, guys. So anyway, with that said, I disagree with Milo too. I think that Milo is wrong, to be frank, and I doubt he'll ever watch this, but if he does, I'm sorry. Milo, I like you, and everything like that, but I completely and vehemently disagree with you. And here's why. If we are unable to treat one another with civility and engage in a discussion, then we have a problem. Because I've seen your response calling Glenn Beck a social justice warrior. He's not. He's way too passionate, and he's not thinking straight. And you could have just as easily said that, and then you would have come out looking much better. And to be honest, you don't look smarter than him in this. You look like you're just wanting to go straight for the below the belt shot, when you don't need to do that. You've never needed to do that. You know, I've never known somebody that smart and that clever to ever have to do that. I think that like I said, this is endemic of a much larger problem between conservatives right now. Trump supporters and Cruz supporters. That's basically what we got, because nobody really wants John Kasich. There are discussions to be had. Let's talk about the arguments here. Let's talk about why would we want Trump to be president? Why would we want Cruz to be president? Why not? Why not? And see exactly where we land. The biggest problem I have is that Glenn Beck has made the mistake that the establishment that he supposedly dislikes, people, like Jeb Bush, John Kasich, unfortunately Marco Rubio, and you look at senators like Lindsey Graham, like, well, let's not even do that. Let's go Mitt Romney, the old school compassionate conservatives, or I should say Bush-era Republicans, Bush-era neocons. That sort of idea, that why are we acting like them? Why are we using all the dirty tricks that they did to shut Tea Party candidates and conservative candidates and libertarian-leaning candidates down in the Senate, like Mike Lee, like Ted Cruz, like Rand Paul, to shut them down, despite the fact that they were some of the only sensible people in Congress? You know, why are we becoming that, is my question. And I ask that to Glenn Beck specifically. And another thing about Glenn that really pisses me off is the fact that he will consistently make moral arguments to grown, consenting adults that know exactly what they're getting themselves into. Look, Glenn, I have a feeling if I met you, I'd probably like you a lot. But the problem is this. There is no reason to make a moral argument about what Milo is saying, because he's not making a moral argument at all. He's trying to appeal to the idea of language and how we do that. And you didn't make an argument about his argument. You didn't put forward a counter-argument. Why not? If we are, as conservatives, a step above in regards to civility, in regards to our intelligence, in our regards to the fact that we address facts, not emotions, why are we making these emotional, moral-centered arguments when we could just make a normal argument about why this is wrong and why it makes Donald Trump less of a candidate? Instead, you treat a well-known, respected, well-loved journalist like Milo Yiannapolous like he's Joseph Goebbels? Bad form. Ben Shapiro, who probably is my favorite conservative writer and radio personality, that isn't named Rush Limbaugh, because I've been listening. My dad's a big Rush guy, so I've technically been listening to Rush Limbaugh since I was 8. But Ben Shapiro's got it right, because he took what Milo said about the alt-right, about things along those lines, and he addressed the argument. And I think it's more than just because Ben and Milo are friends. I think it also has to do a lot with the fact that if you are smarter than other people, if you're able to address arguments as they are, you should. If you can't do that, why even come to the table? So, what I ask is simple. If you're going to argue for Trump, against Trump, for Cruz, against Cruz, use the facts, use what's going to make one guy better than the other, and so on and so forth. Let's be smart about this, guys. Because if we want to win this election, we're going to have to get behind something. If nothing else, who we're against. So, with all that said, my name is Micah Curtis. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you haven't yet, subscribe here to the Off Topic channel, where I discuss more politics, movies, other stuff that isn't video game oriented. And I'd love to, if you have any other suggestions for things like this, always feel free to ask me. So with all that said, once again, my name is Micah Curtis. I'll see you next time.